Hey there, tech fans. Rick here again with another review. And today, I'd like to give you 10 tips that will help you get the best value possible out of your Meta 2 VR gaming headset. Now, we've had this unit ever since it was released, and we use it a lot. We spend a lot of time playing games and doing other things with it. So I wanted to point out a couple of things that we've learned in the time we've owned the product that will help you get the best value out of it and really protect the unit so you can use it as long as possible. And I've broken these suggestions into 3 categories. One's about the application and how you use the product, other ones that have to do with the unit itself, and the third category has to do with settings because there are a couple of hidden settings that you'll definitely want to enable, again, to get the best value out of the product. So let me start off with the application and the software section. So when you decide you want to buy a game, my recommendation is stay out of the headset. Use your application on the phone or the tablet to actually review the game. Look for games that are sort of easy to play at first, because when you first get the unit, your temptation is going to be to go find the most complicated game possible, buy that, download it, and you might get bored with it. It might be too hard for you, or it might have a lot of motion inside of it, which can really turn you off to the VR experience. So check it out in the app first, read the ratings, see what other people are saying about it, and then that gives you a better idea of exactly what you're buying. The other challenge is, if you're in the application through the headset, the tendency is to start buying a lot of games just to try them out, and you can really run up a pretty good bill by doing that. So always go to the application first. If you're playing with your family, everybody should decide, yeah, that's a game we're all going to play, and then purchase that game. Another key thing is you want to use it for more than games. A lot of people think this is just a gaming headset, and it is. It's a phenomenal system that gives you a virtual reality experience when you're playing those games, and I have to tell you, it's immersive. When you put the headset on, you start playing a game, you really feel like you're in that abandoned warehouse, you're on the beach chasing something, so it really is incredibly immersive, but that's only a small part of what this product can do. You can spend time on the Nat Geo site and other sites that'll take you to places all over the world where you can go explore Rome or Italy or the Middle East. You can spend time walking through ancient buildings and things like that that you couldn't really do unless you actually got on a plane and flew there. So if you've got young kids especially, it's a great way to sort of let them explore the world virtually through the headset. And that's a second use you can actually use the product for. And we like doing that an awful lot. It's also great if you're going to go on vacation to a certain spot, because using it to explore the streets virtually and sort of get an understanding of where things are in the city you're going to visit will save you an awful lot of time when you get there. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is the games you choose. A lot of people don't know that there's actually a no questions asked refund policy on games. So if you buy a game and you find out that the game is way too wild or too violent, or maybe you're getting vertigo from being in the game because you're not used to that much motion inside the game, you can return it and get all your money back as long as you haven't played the game for more than 2 hours. So if you're trying a game, first off, start off with games that are rated for moderate play, and that'll be very low motion, because again, the vertigo concept of being in a virtual environment, I can tell you, when you first start playing, make sure you're sitting down. But even still, when you're in that environment, it's disconnected from your body motion. So your brain gets a little bit confused because it thinks, well, I'm sitting in a chair, but you're walking through a village. How does that work? So it takes a while for your brain to sort of realize you're in a virtual environment. So always start with a moderate game, and that will have the least amount of motion and allow you to slowly come up to speed on that whole virtual reality experience. But if you buy a game and you find out you're not enjoying it, your kids aren't enjoying it, and you've played it for less than 2 hours, you can absolutely return that game for a refund. So those are some important things to keep in mind about the games. All right, as far as the system goes, the first thing I'll recommend, and I'll probably say this 5 times in this video, is always use these safety straps. And I know it seems like, are these training wheels? Why do I have these on there? Whenever you're playing the game, the first thing I suggest you do after you put on the headset is to put these around your wrist and then slide this little clasp down so it's nice and tight on your wrist. Not too tight, but tight enough where it's not going to fly off, because when you're in this virtual environment, I promise you, you're going to forget that you have these in your hands, and you're going to reach for something, or you're going to shoot somebody, or you're going to throw something this direction, and this is going to go flying, and it's going to go flying across the room. It's going to hit, see, I just dropped it there. It's going to hit your TV. It's going to crack the unit. It could damage the wall. It could hurt somebody in the room if you're really getting into the sports or whatever. So always use that strap. I know it seems like, I don't really need that, I'm an adult. Definitely put the strap on. And with your kids, train them, just like when they get in the car and they snap on seat belts, have them put that on, after they put the goggles on, put that on and tighten it up. As far as the unit goes, the other thing I'd suggest, the first purchase you should make before even buying a game is to get a good case for it, because even though you can throw this in a backpack or you can throw it up on the shelf, it's going to be fine. Having a case like this protects it it organizes it so you know where everything is, and it makes it incredibly portable. So if you're heading out the house and you're going to a friend's house or a family member's house, you can grab this giant, I call it the egg, you can grab this giant egg that has everything inside of it you need to play the game, and it's all organized, it's all in there. There's no searching around the house for the left-hand controller. Who had that last? Where did that go? It's all in there. So buy a good case because it organizes it, it protects it, and again, more importantly, inside the goggles, the screens that are behind here, don't do real well if they get exposed to sunlight. You can actually damage those screens. So leaving this up on a shelf exposes it to sunlight and room light, and it's going to degrade the quality of the imaging inside. So make sure that you keep it in a dark place. And a case like this, that's a hard case where it's not going to crush, is the perfect place to protect the headset, protect everything else, and keep it well organized for you. Another thing I'll suggest, and this is something that when you buy the case, a lot of times you'll get these, but if you don't, buy a couple of these lint-free cloths, these camera cloths that you can use to clean the lenses, because you're going to find that after you play it for a little while, you're going to sweat a little bit, and there's going to be a little bit of sweat and grease and stuff on the lenses. That can dramatically affect the image you're seeing through those lenses, which means you're not going to get that full VR experience. Don't use a paper towel. Don't use a dishcloth. Find something that's lint-free that you would use to clean your glasses, and clean them before you put them on. Clean them before you put it away as well, but the first thing I do when I take it out of the case is use that lint-free cloth, and I clean both lenses, put it on, and I have a phenomenal view of the game I'm playing. So get a lint-free cloth, get a case, and again, make sure you use the straps. Now, as far as the settings go, there are a couple of settings that really enhance the experience. The first one I'm going to talk about is pass-through mode. Now, pass-through mode is cool because if you're playing the game, you're in that virtual environment, but if somebody comes in the room and says, hey, I need to do this or whatever, and they start talking to you, you're going to pull a headset off. And that transition between being in the virtual world and being in the real world takes a couple of minutes to adjust. It's sort of like when you're in a dark room and you can see everything and somebody flips on a light. Well, if they turn the light off, it might take a half an hour for your eyes to adjust to that dark room. It's the same thing coming out of a virtual environment into a real environment. So when you turn on pass-through mode with a double tap on the side, you can actually see through the cameras on the front of the unit. So it gives you a view through the screen, which isn't as dramatic as taking them off and coming out of that virtual environment. So turn on pass-through mode. Another thing you want to turn on is hand tracking, because you can actually play some games without the controllers. And if you're going to do any kind of virtual desktop type of activities, you'll want to see your hands out there. So turn on the virtual hands, turn that hand tracking on, and that way you'll have the ability to use your hands for certain things that you don't need to hold the controllers for. Now, not every game will work without the controllers. A lot of them require you to have the controller in your hand, but having the hand tracking on gives you the option. When you need to use your hands without the controllers, it'll just work. So turn those two on as default. The last thing I'll tell you is when you're setting your boundaries, don't set your boundaries to the absolute maximum space in your room. Always set your boundaries back at least a foot or 2 feet away from anything in the room, because especially your TV. Because if you're playing the game, a lot of the games require you to reach really far out, and your arm may extend beyond the boundary, even though you're inside the boundary. So if you set that boundary, 2 or 3 feet back from the TV or back from a table, a coffee table off to the side, you'll never have to worry about smacking your TV with one of the controllers. We kind of learned this the hard way because we had the boundary set as wide as possible, which is the normal thing you'd expect to do. And sure enough, we started playing the game and I reached out for something and banged up against the TV with the controller. So we've actually backed up the boundaries now away from the TV a good 3 feet. We don't need that extra space. So make sure you set those boundaries back far enough. And that's pretty much it. I probably could give you another 20 suggestions. I have to tell you, this system is a whole lot of fun to play. We've had it since it was released. I bought it initially because I'm a nerd and I like these kind of technologies. But when we put it on and started playing with it, it's one of those things where the entire family can enjoy it because we can screencast it and see what's going on inside that virtual world. And we found so many uses for it outside of just playing video games all day that it's turned into a multi-purpose device. And the last thing I'll tell you is what you're looking at here from an industry perspective and from a commercial, like a jobs perspective for your kids. This is the future. This is where things are heading. Virtual reality, augmented reality are concepts that are out there in the commercial space today. You've probably heard about the metaverse. That's an absolutely important thing that people should pay attention to. Whether it pans out or it doesn't pan out, knowing about this technology, becoming familiar with it, and becoming fluent in the way you use this technology is going to be incredibly important for your kids. So think of it as a video game, if that's sort of the Trojan horse way to get it in the house. Kids are happy they're playing games, but they're going to learn things about virtual reality by using this system that'll benefit them in other facets of their lives. So that's all I really had for today. I hope you found these suggestions helpful. I love this product, and I'm going to have other reviews about this product coming up soon, but that's it for today. So thanks again for watching. Until next time, stay nerdy.